Good morning, guys, and welcome to another episode of the 20 into 30 podcast. You are joining myself and the Swedish bombshell, that is Evelina. Evelina, how's your week been?
It's been really good, thank you. I got my parents down visiting me at the moment, so having some family time, which is lovely. How's your week?
It's been very good. However, you did just tell us something before we started the podcast that you've just heard news that Spain is going back into lockdown.
No, it's just my office, apparently.
Okay, just your office. Okay, so it's not as bad as you thought.
No, not now, but we're not sure. I also know there was a few flights that got cancelled yesterday going from Malaga to London. So it's not looking good, is it?
We're still getting a lot of flights cancelled. A lot of flights. But to be fair, we have backtracked as well a little bit this from Monday. Because from Monday we've basically can only be in groups of 6 again. Excuse my voice. I have a lot of tea today and I have a lot of caffeine pulsing through my body right now. I feel like I've been on one of those vibrating plates, you know, when you're like I literally feel like, look, if you can see my hand.
My days, can you stop? Did you?
I'm not even joking. My hand is literally like vibrating. So I got up this morning.
If anyone could see it right now, Luke's hand's actually shaking.
I got up this morning and I thought, right, I'm going to get ready for the podcast. So I got up at like 8:30 and then I thought, right, I'm going to have a cup of tea, have my breakfast, go on the PlayStation, wake myself up a little bit that way. And now I'm on like my second cup of tea, but it was strong. And so now I feel like I have just, like I say, been on a vibrating plate.
Oh my days. But how did you make it stronger? Like, did you put 2 bags in your tea?
No, but I leave it in there for ages.
Don't you think it gets a little bit bitter that way?
It can, yeah, but I just I tend to do it whilst I'm making my breakfast, so I just leave it there brewing for a while.
I'm having iced coffee today.
But I can see that, and you got your glass straw, very eco-friendly. I love that. That is good.
Plastic, no.
No plastic. You get the paper ones over here now. I haven't seen the glass ones before. I've seen the metal ones, but I haven't seen the glass ones. Yeah.
I actually prefer the glass one because the metal ones are a little bit too thick. So it's like you feel like, I don't know, it's just coming back down. To be honest, if you have the metal one, this one is easier to drink from.
Yeah. Do you get like a little thing that pokes down it to clean it?
Oh yeah.
I was going to say,
one of those.
You must be there. How many straws have you got? You'd be there all day, no?
This one's?
Yeah, like
I got 4 straws.
Okay, I do like all this stuff that we're seeing nowadays. People are much more thinking about eco-friendly stuff and that. As you can't see, guys, but Evelina is fishing something out of her. Is that a coffee? Tea? Iced tea?
Iced coffee.
What did you have in there?
I thought it was a piece of hair, but it wasn't.
Oh, lovely. Iced tea and hair. That sounds lovely. So let's move into today's topic. Guys, today we're going to be talking about travel versus settle. When we say settle, we don't mean in an offensive way. We just mean making routes, landing in one place, not moving around so much, okay? So I know people can get offended these days, but don't. We're going to talk about our view on travel versus settle. So we've spoken about before when we went traveling and things like that. How are you looking at these days, Evelina? Are you thinking like travel versus settling down is like a specific time of your life, or how do you think? Because I think I've changed my mind on when I first started my first ever job that I was really into. I was like, this is it. But then 3 years later, as we said before, I was like, I need to go because there's so much more to see.
Yeah, I think the whole topic, you kind of need to put it into different categories. So just because you decided to settle down, maybe you find the love of your life and getting kids and steady jobs and stuff, doesn't mean you can't travel when you're older. And just because you decided to travel away when you're 19, 20, in your early 20s, whatever, doesn't mean that you can still settle down later. So I think for me, I personally did it because I got restless.
Yeah.
I'm a very restless person. I'm very impatient. I need to get out, get away from school, because right after I finished college, I did like a 6 months course or very intense makeup artistry course. So I went straight from studying to studying. So I was just restless. I needed that break to like clear my mind, get away, see some new things, get some new perspective. And if I would have settled at that stage, I would probably go nuts by 30.
The problem
So that's me.
is, I agree, and I was the same. But a lot of people are so worried about stepping out of their comfort zone, thinking about this: what's right, what's wrong. Is this going to be a negative experience or a positive experience? And they're so like overwhelmed, I feel, by that decision that they end up sometimes settling just on that reason. And I say this because when I went traveling, I felt that I probably heard from some people more than I would have ever if I was at home than when I was traveling. And I think somewhat that is, you're hearing from people who, yes, are interested and they want to stay in contact, and that is fantastic. But I also think that sometimes people are living through you a little bit because they're too worried to make the jump and it maybe go wrong and they're so built up by that fear that it's kind of an easy way to live through you. And sometimes by speaking to you, that may put them over the edge to go and realize it's not all daunting and it might not necessarily go bad in their head because they're just thinking of the negatives. That by talking to you, that pushes them to go. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think another perspective is also people a little bit maybe worried that they will lose whatever they have got going at the moment. So maybe they have like already bought their house or about to. They might already have a really good job, and they worry to leave that and step outside their comfort zone. And that's why they settle, because it's more comfortable. It's less risky.
I think it comes back as well to talking about that subject. You've been in your comfort zone, and we've spoken about before in the previous podcast about your friendship circles, right? And how that will be a part of who you are, right? Now, if you're younger, you're most of the time you're around your family members because you're living at home, things like that. Okay, you may have gone off to uni and things, but I know for me, my mum, when I said I'm getting up and I'm going to Australia, she was not keen. She said it was not a good idea. She said, you've got a good job, you've got, it going well, stay with what you're doing. Now, that was no fault of hers, but you have to put that into consideration that she was in an era that you couldn't just get up and go to Australia within a month of deciding that you were going to get up and go to Australia. Okay, so I understand. So she's then making my decisions, my life decisions. She's filtering them through her life experiences. Now, that's no fault of her own. That's her life experiences, okay? So you can't be thinking about your choices by what others are saying around you. Now, whether that's your friendship goals and your friendship circles pushing you in fitness or business or whatever, when you're younger, if you have that in mind, just start to follow the path. Don't let your family your family sort of sway where that will go, because they're coming from a different era and they might not understand that you can just get up and go. But if, say, we had kids, that would be a much more normal thing. It wouldn't be so daunting, I think, for someone, because if you had a kid, would be like, yeah, you should go, rather than, no, you need to keep that job and work up in it. It's just a change in era. It's so much easier now.
It is, and also people can only speak from their experience, but also from their own. Everything people say is a reflection of themselves and their fears and their experience. So your mom might have a fear that that you will not get a good job at that age because she struggled to get a good job in that age, or she see other people getting a good job at that age. So it's always a fear of what yourself and everyone else is carrying around. You're reflecting back on them, basically.
Do you know the funny thing is with that? I found that my mum and all that were a bit unsure on the travel side of things. And I'll be honest, after I did Australia and I came back, she was completely for it. But at the time of going, she wasn't. And we clashed a lot on that. We did clash a lot on that. But when I came back, she was all for it because she'd seen the positives of what it had on me and then how it went into me starting my own business, okay? But the funny thing is, talking about the people around you, the people who had it less of an option, like my nan, was actually like more for it. It was funny.
Really?
It was funny because
it was with my nan.
It's weird. It was weird.
My nan had a map And I told her every time I called her where I was, and she like did little marks in the map so she could follow me along in Australia.
It's strange though, because you would have thought your nan would have been even more like, no, this isn't the way you do it, because they're even an older generation who would have stuck with jobs even more so throughout their life. No.
Mm. No, my nan was like living for me. She loved it. She loved to hear what I was doing, especially when I worked in the farm. Because obviously, my nan was born in 1920, so very early days in a small fisher family in Sweden on the countryside. So they obviously always been growing their own things in the backyard, like their own potatoes and carrots and apples and whatnot. And so when I told her I was in the farm and I was like, I'm picking passion fruit and eggplants and zucchini, she was so excited. She's like, how are they growing? When do you pick them? How should you look for the right ones to pick? Oh my God, she was living the dream when I was telling her all this.
I did find that shocking though, because you've had the same sort of experience as me, with your nan being more for it. But what was your mum like then? Was your mum for it when you went, or was she a bit hesitant, or did you have the similar sort of experience as I had, or?
She was for it, but she thought I was going to be gone for like 6 months.
Okay, and then back.
Little did she know, 8 years later.
Yeah. So yes, my mum just wasn't on board with it, but my nan, it's not that she was on board with it, but she was like, yeah, I get it, I get why, and maybe it's where she's at the later stages of her life, and she may have thought that, yeah, I probably looking back would have liked to do something like that. That's me putting words in her mouth. I don't know. Maybe that I'm trying to sort of figure out maybe why she was more on board, even though she was an older generation than not. But long point short is, don't let the people around you at a younger age, i.e. your family will be more so, make those decisions for you. You really have to be strong-minded in everything that you do, whether it's a career, your fitness, or travel. You have to just decide. And you go,
exactly.
This is going to be me.
Your life is yours to live. So regardless if you're coming back and someone said, I told you so, and that person was right, that is fine, because that was your life experience, and you would never gone through that and learn what you learned and took the lessons away if you didn't go for it. And I rather do a mistake and say that was 100% on me. I did something wrong, or I took the wrong turn, but this is what I learned from it, than coming back or not going and looking at someone else and say, it's your fault that I didn't do what I wanted to do.
But yeah, you say that, like, you learn from it. I always think you learn more from things that you may have been a bit uncomfortable with or didn't go your way than things that went your way. Because if everything goes your way, you don't have to assess anything.
No.
You know, like, I'd like to think that I'm highly critical on myself and situations if they go wrong. Like, what did I do wrong? What went right? What went wrong? How could I improve that next time? Any negative situations that you could have while traveling is only going to be things that you learn from and make you a person and create a story, right? The stories are going to be the things that people who may have doubted you in the long run prior to going or been hesitant about you going will want to hear. That's the funny thing. The people who said, don't go, don't, or maybe don't think about it, stick with that job, they're the people that you'll be surprised that will want to hear those stories.
They love it. Some of my friends is like contacting me after I left, and a few years later, like, I see that you're still traveling. Where are you now? And it's not like they're jealous of me. It's not what I'm saying, but there are so many positive response from what you're doing. People might not want to do what you are doing, but they're like, it's quite impressive that you just pick up everything you own in a suitcase and like, I'm out.
It's inspiring. It's inspiring. If someone can get up and just take themselves to the other side of the world, or even to another country, or whatever, that's inspiring. You know, because they're just giving it a go. You know, it's easy to stay.
Guts, like.
Yeah, it's easy to stay where you are, but to get up and go, that's fine. Look, how many times do you watch on YouTube a video of someone who's getting up and going and doing traveling? Or it's inspiring. It might not inspire you to do that, but it will probably, their inspiration for what they're doing, their motivation for that, will inspire you to do what you want to do. Whether that is travel or settle down. I do feel that you don't have to have the same path or want the same thing as someone to be inspired by someone.
Exactly. So you can look at someone going to the other side of the world and thinking, if he or she dare to do that, I can apply for that new
Yeah.
job, or I can move into that bigger flat, or finally buying that house I've been looking for ages.
I agree. Yeah, I take so much motivation from other people. Like it's silly. Like I love taking motivation from people. That I could even go to the theater. Right, I love going to the theater, and I just watch someone absolutely smash their show that they do. Now I don't want to be in the theater. I'm not looking to be an actor, and it's a completely other side of what I look to do. But I watch that person and go, "Damn man, they're smashing that. I want to go and smash this. I want to go smash." You can take that motivation from someone that is literally so far from the field of things that you're looking to do, but they'll just fire you up. Like you're like, oh man, he owned that or she owned that, and you're like, damn, I want to own what I'm doing.
Yeah, and that's all about the positive thinking, isn't it? Like you can either look at a person doing something that they are really good at, that they are smashing in life, look at it and be jealous or talking bad about them and thinking, like I have friends look at me when I was traveling and be like, is it not time to come home and settle down or get married? Are you not worried you will never have kids and stuff? And I'm like, you can look at it that way, or you can look at me and be like, I'm glad for you because you look like you're doing absolutely amazing. So when you see anyone really doing well in life, either you can take it on as negative energy on top of yourself and push yourself down and pushing them down, or just use the energy like ride on their positive vibes and just go with the flow and put it out in your own life and make the best out of it.
Yeah, and I agree. I think you've got to do that. And there's no right or wrong time about settling down. I think everyone's different. You know, me and you were very similar. The reason we went traveling is because we were very not settled in what we were in. We were, you know, maybe a bit agitated in the environment that we were in, and that fires you to go. I know I was getting quite angry for no reason. Like I was just angry at myself because I was like, I was in a good job and I was like putting money away and I was going out and doing my thing, seeing my friends and everything, but I just wasn't settled. So therefore I wasn't ready to settle down, because that's not fair to put that on someone. If you're not ready to then try and settle down when you're not ready, is an unfair environment for the person that you're trying to do that with. So you need to be settled
100%.
in yourself before. That's how I feel. You have to be settled in yourself before you're ready to settle down.
That's a really good point, actually. And a lot of people in the early 20s, they have this rush that they need to get things done before a certain age. Like, I think we have spoke about this earlier in the podcast about having this pressure that I should have be married and have kids and a house before a certain age.
Lamborghini.
And that's why, or Lambo. And that's why they don't travel, because they have this pressure on themselves. But the thing is, I saw something when I was in New Zealand on the North Island. Me and my good friend, we did a big hike. I think it's called I can't remember what it's called now, but it's around Mount Doom, like where the recording Lord of the Rings.
Oh, okay.
Really cool hike. I think Alpine Crossing, I think it's called. But when we was up there, we saw these two parents and their two kids doing the same hike as we did. And this hike is, I think, is 19K long. So they had one kid carrying on the back, I think it's like 2 years old maybe, and one kid 5 was walking with them.
Yeah, I love that.
So just because you settle in your 20s and you decide to have that family life, doesn't mean you can still travel, and you don't have to go to the other side of the world. If you can, like, take your kids on a hike. If you learn from like a small age, they're going to be cool with it. Or you can do travels with your kids in Europe, in the country around where you live. Do like a camping trip. We need to speak about your camping, by the way. Like, that setup was
I went in.
spot on.
I went in. Everyone said, like, I showed a couple of pictures offside quickly. I showed a couple of pictures to people, and they were like, Luke, you've went in. And my friend Michael and mine was like, if Luke's going to do it, he's going to go in. I'm like, I had heated blankets, everything. I was in, man.
Even fairy lights.
Fairy lights, everything, yeah. I went in, man. But no, I agree. Look, just because you, I think if you're someone who likes to travel, and we're transitioning now into the topic into the settle down part of your life, but if you're looking to travel and you want to travel and you're not, and you feel like you should do it. And don't question yourself. There's going to be positives and negatives and everything. But just because you decide that maybe you want a family, maybe you want to be with someone, maybe you want to settle down a bit, doesn't mean you have to change who you are as a person. And if you like travel and you like going on hikes and going on bike rides and doing all these new things, you take your family along with you. That becomes who you are as a family. That's your unit. That's what you do. So just because you decide this stage of my life I'd like to settle down doesn't mean you have to lose the prior stage of your life. You just integrate that into your new. I had that. I worried a lot about if I meet someone, I'm not going to be able to do this and that. And now I'm sort of, where I've turned 30, I'm more like, if I meet someone and they're the right person for me, they're going to want to go traveling with me. They're going to want to do this. They're going to want to do that. And if they don't, guess what? They're not the right person for me. That's what I feel.
100%. Or they might be, that's not for me, but I'm more happy for you to go and do that with your friends and support you in that.
Yeah, and that's it. So you can settle down in a lifestyle that enables travel and those types of exercises. And, that's not going to be for everyone. That's me and you. That's our type of lifestyle that we like, that physical, active lifestyle where you're going off and doing new things. But that's not going to be for everyone. But where
100%.
Where I'd bring the conclusion for your settle down, if you're not a travel person, is I'd take it back to the point you've just got to be settled in yourself.
Yeah, imagine if you have put loads of time and energy into college, and then you're going straight from that into university, and you have this drive and the passion that I really want to find a career in something, and you have the really energy of just going for it, then travel can actually set you off balance. It could be taking your focus off, and you might be traveling away thinking, I wish I was home doing something else. So settling is great if you feel great with what you're currently doing. Like, you don't have to pack your bag and leave to the other side of the planet if you're really happy with where you're at right now and where you're going in your life. Then you can save it for in the future.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, traveling through your 20s was a great time, like going through. And I do look back, and I was very lucky in what I got to do in traveling. But I do look back and think I wish I'd made a little bit more of it before I settled in starting my business and going. Because obviously, when you got the business, it's a lot harder to just up and go. So I do feel like through your 20s, like say 23 onwards, up until you're 30, travel as much as you like, make as much as experience as you like, meet someone, travel with them, don't travel with them, travel on your own, meet friends, travel with them. Like, that's what I feel. You do not have to be. Look, most people worry about being set up in a good job, getting good money, getting their house, getting some money aside for when they retire. Trust me, when we retire, we're going to be 70 odd years old. Okay, you've got time. You have time to take 2 years out, 3 years out, and even more so. If you didn't go to uni, people had 3 years out on you already. Go traveling. It's going to cost you less. You're going to have less debt than if you went to uni. You're probably going to have more smarts by the end of it. No offense. Smarts as in common sense, not educational smarts. But it's going to cost you less, and I'm sure you'll get a lot more from it than just going down your local spoons and getting drunk. You'll be doing that, but not in a spoons. You'll be doing it in a country somewhere else.
But I have friends who came travel with me and that I met along the journey. They only went away for 3-4 months, and they're like, that was enough for them.
Yeah.
They're like, I've seen a little bit now, but I really like it at home. And they got a perspective of, I thought traveling was for me, but
they dip their toe.
I really miss my hometown. I miss my family, and that's the place for me to be.
Yeah. They dipped their toe in the water and was said, it's not for me.
Exactly.
But that's I love that. I love that because you go, no, not for me. And you're not too scared to go back on what you decided to do. You can decide to do something and you do it and you realize this isn't for me. And then you go back and you are more comfortable in the environment. I feel more comfortable in the environment that you have decided that, no, this is the environment for me.
Yeah, 100%. Like I have loads of friends who never thought about traveling, and today they're like having kids and they're married, and that's the life that they always wanted, and they're super happy with it. So it's not just for everyone to travel. It's not for everyone to settle down straight away. We just need to, as you said at the beginning of the podcast, you need to tune in and ask yourself, what am I right now in my life? What do I need before I take that step further? Do I need a break? Do I need to move forward? Do I need to see something new? Am I happy where I'm at? And just listen to your own voice and just get to know yourself a little bit better and just take responsibility for what you truly feel like doing. Like, if you don't feel like travel, don't do it just because some people do, especially all these YouTubers today are doing it. You don't have to. You can stay where you're at, and that's fine too, because you could travel later on as well. Like, maybe you're taking a year out, all your holiday when you're 50, and you travel the world. It's not too late. And speaking of, I spoke to a lady yesterday on the phone. I work in office, guys, so I speak with loads of people all day. She was 83 years old, and she's been traveling the whole world, and
Yeah,
she
I love
still
that.
does today.
Yeah, I love
Like,
that.
she's going on hikes and everything. She have a house up in north of Norway when she's doing hikes. She's been hiking in every part of Asia except Bali, but she's been to all the other ones. And she's still traveling. She sleeps 4 hours a night because that's all the things she needs. And she's just going around. She hopefully the COVID stops soon so she can go back to Thailand, she said. She's 83.
Yeah, I love that.
It's not too late.
I think that though is you are who you are. And as
Hmm.
we spoke before, you are who you are. And look, if you're that person when you're 20, you're going to be that person when you're 30, 40, 50. And she's a proof that you will still be that in your 80s. So
Oh, she's
maybe
amazing.
you're not ready for it in your 20s, but maybe you will be in your 50s. Maybe you will be in your 60s.
Exactly.
And it's
Mm.
about, like you say, knowing yourself. Block out the social media, your friends, what they're doing, what you think you should be doing, what your family's suggesting. My family always used to be like, when are you going to settle down, have kids, do this, do that.
Oh my God, I
After,
still hear that.
after a while, they don't even ask me no more. They don't even ask me. They're just like, he's a lost cause. He's done, right? So they've given up. So in the end, people will just, they'll come along with your journey, the journey that you decide, the journey that you pick, and that you are ultimately responsible for. The good,
Mm.
the bad, and the amazing, right? That is just what it's going to be. But like you say, you've got to listen to your voice, block out everybody else's, pick what you want. Don't do something because it's a fad, whether it's someone's having
No.
kids around you or going traveling or moving here or whatever they're doing, be happy for them, push them, motivate them. Don't look to be them. You're yourself. You've got to be yourself.
100%. And if you're comfortable and if you're comfortable in yourself and confident in the road that you're taking on and just happy in life, no one can question you if you're always happy with where you're at in life. Like, the times my mom has been worried for me when I'm calling up, like in New Zealand and stuff, when I've been a bit down and sad, is when I'm unsure what I should do, and I call her up, and that she can tell that. That's the only time she's telling me should maybe come home. But if I'm truly living my best life, she's not question anything. She's just happy as for me.
Yeah. And people will be. If you get up and do whatever you decide, at whatever time of your life you decide, because what we were trying to say here is by tuning into yourself, you're going to know where you want to go, and you're going to learn yourself more and more. I'd say I'm so content now. I don't know what happened when I turned 30. Like I said before, I just became really chill, and I think I just learned my body, learned what I want, what I don't want, what I do good with, what I don't, and it's fine that will take time for you to learn and be aware of your body enough. And I'm still learning how I feel and what things trigger me and what things are good for me. That's a process. But like you say, everybody's story is different. You've all got to make your own decisions and stick by them. And sometimes people are going to put their opinion on you, but it doesn't mean you have to voice yours. Because I think sometimes the strongest opinions are the ones that you don't feel you have to voice, because you're confident
Mm.
in knowing that this is how I feel. I don't have to convince anybody. This is just me. This is what I want, who I am.
Mm.
And I don't have to have someone agree with me to know that
Mm.
or be taking the
100%.
same path as me.
100%.
But I'd say now where I've changed, and let's see how you have after, if you have at all. I say now, whereas I thought travel used to be I have to drop everything and go for a year and do this and do that. Now I realize that I'm getting to a point where my business will be set up and my business can be running, and I go off for a month here. I come back, I work for another year. I go off for a month there. I do this, I do that. So I can have both. I can have both, but you have to set up a lifestyle where you can have both. So that might inspire you to start your own business so you can go off and travel as well and do what you want, you know? So you can have both. You don't have to pick one. I'd say that.
100%. I couldn't agree more.
How about
You don't
you?
have to be self-employed to do so.
No, I agree.
My mom comes down to Spain 5 times a year.
Yeah, I agree.
She's employed.
My brother works for a large supermarket store over here, and he goes off all the time. Like obviously at the moment you can't because of COVID, but he goes off. Yeah, for like he was. I think he did like Japan and that for a month, and you know if you're willing to just work 11 months a year and then take a month out, then you'll cut. Certain companies will let you do that, so you can have both. You don't have to pick. I think that's the difference. When I was 20, I thought I had to pick one or the other.
100%. No, you don't have to. With the right company, the right work environment, if you can say so, and also if you really want to travel and if you save up for it, you can still do it.
I agree. Yeah, that's where I've changed. That's where I've
Yeah,
changed.
and coming like also being in Europe as we are, something that I appreciate more when I moved back to Europe after living in Australia, we can travel so much more here than back in Australia. Like Australia, you can travel inside the country, and if you save up a little money, you might go to Bali or New Zealand. But the way we can travel here in Europe, like in 2 hours, I can be visiting you in the UK, or in 3 hours, I can be in South Africa almost.
Yeah.
We're so privileged with how short it is to get from one country to another. So you can easily work away, take a long weekend, and just go to different country.
Yeah, I agree. What would be your 3 tips for people on settle versus settling down versus travel?
Oh, that's a good one. We should think this one through before, shouldn't we? So I would say my 3 top tips would be: number 1, do what feels right for you. So tune in, listen to your own voice, listen to your own body, and make the decision that feels right for you at that time. Because anything you force will just be forced and not feel right. To just get yourself out of balance.
I agree, and I'm taking that one as my first point as well. And the reason being is it's such a huge one. It's such a huge point that I'm not just going to find you 3 points for the sake of it. That is a point that everybody has to learn, and it takes time. It takes time, really does, and I'm still learning now.
Number 2, I would say if you don't feel comfortable traveling on your own, but you still want to do it, get yourself a buddy. Reach out to someone, old friend from school or a workmate or something. I bet there's someone in your circle who do want to go with you, if you don't feel comfortable doing it yourself.
Yeah. And you're never alone when you're traveling anyway. As soon as you get there and you put yourself in a hostel, if you're willing to talk to people, you will not be alone for long. You'll be alone for maybe the length of the flight. That's it.
That's true. And number 3, I would say if you don't feel like travel, that is fine too. If you want to settle down, if you're really happy with where you're at, then don't feel ashamed of you settling down. Just because it's a big trend of going off and travel, don't be ashamed of just being happy with what you got, where you're at, and the road that you are currently on.
Oh, 100%. Like I agree with that, and I'll tell you why. I had Instagram and Facebook and that when I first came back and I was trying to start my business. I'd wake up in the morning, I'd see people traveling all over the place, and it would make me think, oh man, I've like sold out early, and that wasn't a good vibe for me, so I stopped looking at Facebook. And it wasn't because I weren't happy for them or anything. I was really happy for them, and they were having a great time. It's just I had to focus on positive energy, and even though theirs was positive, it was affecting me slightly negative because I was having that FOMO, fear of missing out, and thinking I want to be there still, and therefore I couldn't focus on my next thing. So definitely agree. agree.
Okay, give us your top 3. Come on.
So I agree with the first one 100% because it's so important. So my second one is, if travel or settling down is your decision, you've got to be comfortable with that, but know that you'll have rough times and good times in both. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're going to learn from them all. So there's nothing wrong with that
100%.
at all. And 3 would be, there's no it's a hard way to put it, but I basically just want to say, whoever you are is who you are. You don't have to listen to other people. And this is kind of going back to the first point, knowing who you are and your decisions. But it's such a tough one to pick. It's so hard to say to people advice, isn't it? We're just 2 people and we're making our own mistakes as we go, and we're still making our mistakes, have made our mistakes. But I would say, if anything, knowing yourself in point 1 will make point 3 easy, because when you decide, just decide and just go for it. Either way, no matter what you decide to do, one or the other, just go for it.
Mm. Yeah, and a side note, nothing is set in stone.
No, I agree, and it's a tough one trying to give people advice when we're people who are just flawed, just like everyone else, and we've made good decisions and we've made bad decisions, and
exactly. And we can't really give a take on both sides here because both of us went traveling,
and we haven't settled down yet.
Exactly.
So we're a little bit biased, just a little,
just a tiny bit.
Oh,
and I guess for me, it's the best thing I ever done.
Yeah.
I don't regret it for a second, but it worked for me.
Yeah, definitely, I'm with you there. I don't think traveling will be a bad point, but I'm also ready to sort of settle down a bit more now, in the sense that I'm more comfortable knowing that I can do both without having to just be in one place and fully in. You can have both. You can be, having your career settled down, kids, whatever, and still travel if that's who you are.
100%.
But I also want to give a shout out to my friend Michael, who is in the process of buying a property at the moment and very busy at work and juggling his kids and everything else that he's got going on, gym and everything. He's still just smashing it. He's doing really well. So he's given me a lot of motivation to keep striving on as well. He's just, he's on as we said before, he's on a different path to me with his family and everything, but he still motivates me in just how driven he is in what he does.
Well, shout out to him.
Massive shout out to him.
Well done.
Yeah, he's spoke to him on the phone yesterday. He's keeping me very motivated. So, but guys, that's going to wrap up our episode on travel versus settle. Thanks for joining. As you can find us on YouTube every morning on a Monday morning. It will always go up around 9-10 o'clock. And we hope you enjoyed this episode. Evelina, where can they find us? Oh, I think we've lost Evelina. I think she's dropped out. So, guys, you can find us at Luke Bradley. That's myself. You can find Evelina at Health by Evelina. And you can also find us on the 20 into 30 podcast. I do apologise that we have lost Evelina at the last minute here. Everybody have a great day, and we will see you next time.